Share screen. All right. Cool. This match is from a couple years ago. We're gonna watch a little bit on the right side first. All right. And again, I think this is a great. Matt Anderson is just a great player to watch attack. Honestly, doesn't really do much else really well other than serve and attack. But I guess that's pretty much your main job descriptions when you're an opposite. But he does a really good job. He just has a really, really good arm. So anytime we can watch him attack or serve, right, it's only going to be good for us. Okay. He's also pretty good too. He's versatile, so you can kind of see when he's coming from a 4-man position. Okay. Again, I just like how fluid he looks with his arm. Doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes when he brings it down. And it kind of helps when he attacks the ball that high. But we're just going to look at his ability to jump to the ball and fly and get there, right? I definitely like to point out that he's got some of the best double arm lift too, right? Those arms are flying way back there, and that's only going to help him load his arm quicker, right? And also propel him up into the air, right? We were talking about this on Tuesday when we were looking at layout serving. Those arms are flying back, but they're also flying through, and that right arm is getting loaded extremely quickly. See that? It's down back here. You see his elbow, and then now, again, you can see how loose his arm is. Okay. A really good note. I got a couple older guys here now, and yeah, Kyle, you're going into Division I this next year, right? One of the best things that you can do when you're at a system attacking, right, is never challenging that middle blocker. Okay, always challenging the line blocker, right, or attacking that third blocker. Okay, that's kind of the best, or those are kind of the weak spots. The third blocker is definitely the weakest blocker in 3-man block because he's got to travel the most distance. He doesn't make that move very often, right? There's usually a lot of distance to cover, right? So there's usually sometimes a seam, all right? But that's something to always keep track of. So if you have your ability to go and get the ball with your feet and jump to it, and it's an out-of-system set, sometimes attacking off that third blocker or into the high seam is a really good option, okay? Again, I just like to point out that double arm lift, look at how high, almost just looks like he's a contortionist in a way, And then on that separation, we talked a little about that that left arm, right? Once it gets extended, right, he again pulls it back behind his body to then create that rotational power. So then he's able to pull and stay tall, right? It's almost that reach and replace, right? That left hand's going up, reach for the ball, and that right hand's filling that spot, okay? Just never looks like he's struggling at all to create any velocity on the ball. He's just getting on it, and it's because of that ability to have a good double arm lift, rotational power, okay? And then again, I want you guys to keep track of the shots that he's making right now, right? Where he's actually trying to attack and hit the ball. Hardly ever brings it down, right? It's a good shot right there. Okay, he's got the ability to go up, blast off the top, or a little shot. Tough swing. Just barely missing. Okay, this is good right here. And again, he was maybe expecting a faster set. Whatever, it comes out a little bit higher than expected, right? You can tell by the way he's kind of having to slow down, and he's attacking on the way down, right? But at least when he's on the way down, it's super easy for us as attackers to just bring that ball down with us, right? That's kind of our body's natural feeling, I guess, in a way to bring that ball down, right? And he does a really good job, just still putting like 60% pace on it, just high up into the hands, right? Super easy to cover, right to the libero, right? And then you're back in system. Okay, it's just a really good experienced swing. So when you're in trouble, right, you always have this shot. Oh man, is it? Yeah, you always got this shot right there. All right, and that's trainable too, but you got to experience it with it as well. When the blocker is slightly on the way down, right, maybe you're on the way down or in a awkward situation, that chop high into the hands is a great one for you to have. Okay. Okay, and again, just how loose his arm is too. I mean, it's just so whippy. You talk about that whip, right? That forearm's like almost way weirdly disconnected, like behind his head, right? And that way he's able to create tons of range, cross body, down the line, right? And it's very deceptive. Oh shoot. Sorry guys, I didn't know you guys were in the waiting room. New update, so it wasn't like flashing a whole bunch. My fault. Okay. And getting creative as well. All right, he's got that little shot over the top, underneath the block. Just really exploring all of his options there. Oh. There you go. One time you kind of bring it down, right? He makes that one little error and brings it down a little bit. There you go. Another thing of attacking too, it's so important, right? Especially when you're getting these like medium system sets, right? So the middle blocker, in other words, has time to close. It's really important for you guys to feel or know, yes, where the blockers are, but to feel where the defenders are, right? So he could easily taken this ball and chopped it to that 116, right? Different teams will scheme against you guys, but for the most part, when you're playing in club tournaments, they're just going to be playing, their base defense, right? So that area 6 guy is going to step slightly back down into the angle. That right back guy is going to basically stay right there. The libero, if they're undisciplined, they usually step into the court a little bit, right? At the club level, even though a lot of the shots go right over there. Okay. So it's really important to know where the defenders will be, and then you can always make adjustments, right? Or try to pull them out of position, or just try to exploit the weaknesses and holes. So you always have that ability, if you're getting it at your peak, to go all the way in that corner, right? There's a lot of court over here, and usually a lot of shots fall, right? And same thing with that 1-6 chop. Okay, maybe a tip over the block. Maybe you just blew up the right back defender down the line, and next one you want to make a little shot or a little tip roll shot over the top, right? So having all those options, having all those shots in your arsenal is really crucial and important, right? I gave that metaphor the other day where, if a pitcher only threw a fastball, it doesn't matter if it's 95 miles an hour, 98, 100 miles an hour. If you only have that one pitch, you're going to be able to the players are going to be able to hit that pretty easily, right? That's why you have 3-4 pitches that they throw. So having the ability to go high off the line blocker, like power tip it through, deep swing to the corner, high off the hands, right underneath the block, really moving it around so the defense does not know what's going on. Okay, this is a great swing right here. I think this is his best swing of the match. That's nice. right? Good double arm lift, flying to the ball, and he's still able to get that rotational power. You guys see that? Sometimes hard to create that. Especially it's hard to create that when your approach comes from way over here off the court if you're right-handed, right? Then your body never has a chance to get open. You essentially have to jump, turn in midair, right, in order to create that rotational torque. So go ahead and watch this right here. I'm gonna let in someone real quick. Okay. Come on now. There we go. Yeah, I just want you guys to watch this right here. See that torque that he's already creating? He's already so open up to the ball. Right, and that you can see there that left wrist, that left shoulder, and that right shoulder are kind of all in that line with one another, right? That's really good right there where he's able to get full torque, where he's able to hit this ball down the line, right? And then he's also able to whip this ball back into area one while, again, staying tall and balanced throughout his entire swing, right? His balance that he has in air to always land like pretty solidly and never be leaning, or he never feels like he has to contort his body in crazy ways because he has such good balance and body control in the air, right? And a lot of that has to do with how dialed in he is with his arm swing. He's able to stay super balanced in the air. All right. Okay, we're gonna watch a couple of Kubiaks now. So now we can watch, maybe a smaller outside, shooting it around a little bit, right? I think he's just a really, really good player to watch. He's really fun to watch too because he is just so creative, and that's really what it is. Sometimes it's not about how hard you can hit it. It's definitely nice to have that because then it makes this shot, right, open up. No, just boop, right there, just slapping it down. This is nice too. What I really like about this swing is that he, based off his timing or the set, right, or maybe just a split second of patience, he knows he wants to hit this to the line. He doesn't try to hit it too early. So if he tries to pick it off a little earlier, right, it's really hard to hit line around that right hand of the blocker because then you have to hit it essentially through him instead of letting the ball pass a little bit, and then you're able to expose the outside bit of the arm. Okay, I'm gonna explain that one more time. So if you pick it off early, right, and that right hand of the blocker is there, you're essentially hitting back into his hand the whole time. If you let that ball pass, now you're hitting to the outside of his arm. So that's where you get that easy tool. Okay, so right here, he hits that ball. You guys can see where he hits it, right on that outside right of the hand. Okay, and that's gonna obviously just shoot straight off to the side. That's a really smart swing. Just that split second of patience and that knowledge of having him, the knowledge of his experience and creativity, just knowing that let it travel, and then you're able to snap it off the outside arm. Okay, really good recognition right here, right? At a system set, non-setter setting. Excuse me, and he gets out of that four-step approach, and really goes and makes a play with this ball. And on the flip side as well, Matt Anderson does a really good job going up, and just you see that with both of his hands, just throwing that ball back into play. It's good volleyball IQ play right there. Something to also point out is that whenever you're jousting, it's always better to push with a bent arm. If you're locked out, right, it's really difficult to move that ball around because you only have your wrists, right? If you have your arm bent, then you're able to push, throw, right, and move the ball in different ways. Push and feel weakness and then exploit it. what a dig by Sander. Like this, though. Right? Just blasting off the edges of the block. Blasting off the edges. 70% of kills go off the block. Shout out JP. Just barely misses there. But again, I'm just trying to point out, like, boom, look at this. All right, this is a great example. We're going to cover this and dive a little bit more into it. We need to be able to, if we're going to be if we're trying to hit fast sets, our ability to jump to the ball, right? Jumping to it, not always relying on the setter to put it on the money, right? These guys are international players and they still miss sets, right? But you as an attacker have full capabilities of seeing that set, reading it, and adjusting to it. I think he does a great job right here. And again, like the patience, right? Shuffle, shuffle, stay nice and tall, boom, exploding to that ball. It's a great swing. That's for set point. You know, I just haven't seen him hit the same shot twice yet either. Just doing a really good job moving it around. Okay, we talked about this a little bit. Right, that 1-6 seam right there is most of the time pretty open, right? So I explained about this last time we were talking about the quick and the Bic a little bit more so on like the block and defense side. All right, it's really tough because that right front blocker has a go ball, right, for all 6 rotations. Okay, usually just a little bit more stressed, a little bit of a faster set sometimes, right? So hitting that 1-6 seam on the Bic is really important. Here he goes again. Again, just opening up, right? How open he up is to the set. And again, he's just slapping it around. It's amazing what he's able to do because I mean, you can see how tall he is too. Like he's just as tall as the setter. 6'2", 6'3", maybe. There we go, again. Another bang bang play, right? Matt Anderson doing a really good job. Another smart play right there, right? Knowing the attacker. But again, just moving around his shots, right? He was really trying to aim for that, you know, that right hand going high off, right? Hopefully back out of bounds on his side. But Matt Anderson does a really good job of having those bent arms and able to kind of just shape in a way, like kind of dig that ball back. Again, it's really good. And notice where he's taking his approach as well. He's jumping from inside the court, right? So he's able to get on that ball fast, but then he's also able to let that ball, yeah, this is slightly outside, but also let that ball travel, right? Travel across his body and not having to pick it off early, right? When we pick it off early and we're right-handed, same thing as a left-hander, hit tack on the right side. Pick it off a little early and we're trying to hit line, right? That side spin is going to have that ball just overcooked a little bit. That's where you tend to miss 2 feet out of bounds, right? Letting that ball pass a little bit, right? Pretty much right there to snap it down the line. Then you're actually able to hit line outside of this right hand, right? And then you're basically hitting back into the court. Does that make sense? So if it dies inside a little bit and we're not having our approach or we're not jumping to the ball and we try to hit line, we're essentially hitting the ball back to this little sliver of line. All right, you got to be much more exact and precise in that circumstance. Instead of you step closing inside, jumping to it, letting the ball travel, and then you're actually trying to hit this ball back into the court and you're able to hit line. Okay, so it's a higher percentage shot by allowing you to hit line. It's just such a smart play. For whatever reason, like, I don't know, it maybe comes out like way slower than he thought. Boop, just chops it right into the middle blocker. And again, just looks for a a little recycle action right there. Really cool, smart heads up play. Blocked by Taylor. Way up there. Oh, and he can go up and terminate. He's like the perfect guy too to watch as well. Sometimes I think he's also able to adjust so well to sets because he's actually able to stay overall just lighter on his feet, right? So here's like a kind of a good example. So watch him just overall throughout the play, right? He's able just to like, he takes a really fast step close and a really fast arm load, and he's trying to do everything quick and like kind of poppy in a way, right? It's not so long and heavy. He's trying to be quick and explosive, right? So you can see how fast his arms come through, right, to get on that ball. Okay. Definitely some really good things to take away from here. So shot selection, you know, putting himself in a really good position, and just doing everything as quickly and efficiently as possible. See, there you go. He waits for that ball to travel. Okay, so here's a really good example. So if you were to hit this ball right now and not wait, see how he kind of hangs, lets it travel. Okay, it's such a small difference. So instead of him attacking it right here on the right hand, as opposed to literally letting it travel 6 inches more, he's able to hit this ball straight down the line. Okay, to get it past the blocker. Right, usually it's a really, really tough dig to make. You get any sort of heat on it, right? That usually that defender, you know, kind of shanks it off to the side, digs it over the net, right? But when you're in a tough situation like this right there with a pretty well-formed block, right, it's a really good option for you to let that ball travel a hair longer and then just snap that ball down the line. Okay, he maybe even could have power tipped this ball. You've seen it before when we watched attacking the first time, where he just takes that ball, right, and he just pretty much grabs it and just dunks it, right? That little power tip action. That would have worked well in that circumstance. Boom, again. You know, just like his moving ability just is nice and loose. It's light. It's very poppy. It's very jumpy, right? It kind of gives the analogy where if you're playing, if you play beach volleyball, right, your approach on the sand is a little bit different than your approach on the indoor, right? Approaching on the sand, you got to be a little bit lighter on your feet. You got to jump with your feet together, and you can't be like broad jumping as much to it, right? You got to be taking a little bit shorter, choppier steps. Okay, so I think he does that really, really, really well. All right. Let's see. Now we're going to be looking at, let's go Taylor Sander. I really like the way, I mean, he just absolutely flies when he's on the pipe. But it's definitely really cool to watch him. One of the best, in my opinion, he's a better big attacker than a front row go hitter. Okay, this is a tough one to run, right? So if at all possible, right? So quick spacing real quick, right? You know, middle blocker 2 feet away from the setter, right? And the outside hitter, right? 2-3 feet away from the setter, right? So overall, just like about 5 feet away from the setter, right? Better for you to be slightly closer to the middle blocker than you are far, right? Because if you're too far away from the middle blocker, that set's going to feel so far away from you. At least if you are a little bit tight, you're able to jump out and get that ball, okay? So it doesn't feel like it's over the top of the middle blocker. Whenever you can get your spacing, right, then go ahead and get it. If you have enough time to allow yourself to get lined up, right, and get that runway, right, so you can come straight in, that's going to be the best thing that you can do for yourself, because then you're going to be able to open up to the ball much more efficiently. Okay, so in this example right here, right, because it's row 2, right, Taylor just served, right? So he's back in area 1. It's really hard for him to get back around into the middle of the court. He's got to take this angle, right? You guys can see he has a really tough time kind of flying to the ball and open up in that circumstance, okay? Probably could have made a better decision, but if at all possible, right, instead of him chilling over here, right, he could have been able to get more to the middle of the court, right, and be over here, already get his like 5 feet, so then he can come straight in. I take that back actually, because David Smith is on a push, so that's designed. Never mind. But if they were running front 1 BIC, he would want to get to the middle of the court, so then he'd come straight in. Okay. Again, right? So there's different kinds of tempos as well. Okay, so when you're running BICs, usually, right, we kind of run it with you guys, right? For the teams that are running quick BIC, we kind of want you guys to be on that soft third. Okay, so in this circumstance right now, the USA team, they run it on a hard third. Okay, hard third step, which means that in your third step, that basically that that step close action right there, right? That right foot is planted into the ground when the ball's in the setter's hands. Okay, so this is not a good camera angle, but if the ball is in the setter's hands right now, then we would actually, if you're a soft third, then we want you just a half step back. So that third step is actually not planted yet. It's in the air, or you're going on to that third step, okay? It just allows, it's hardly any difference in timing in terms of creating stress on the other team, right? But it just allows you as an attacker to be able to maybe adjust that third step ever so slightly coming out of the setter's hands, but also to get just a split second longer of a read so you can jump to the ball, okay? Jumping to the ball. This is annihilated. So again, he's got that really good BIC spacing, okay? He reads that pass. He's roughly 5 feet away, okay? On that hard third step, right? That foot's basically on the ground, okay? That heel's on the ground, and just unloads on that ball. See, he's able to open up a little bit more there, right? It just looks a little bit more comfortable. So that looks like he can hit every shot, right? The ones before, when we were talking about when he was over in area 1 on that first ball side out, right, it looked like he was kind of locked in to just hitting this side of the court because of where his body was letting him do, right? Opens up, right? And then he's still able to whip this ball back, but he's also opens up this side of the court. Boom. Annihilates it. It's good. Little 40 run, okay? Basically, it's just like, a back two in a sense. Really good job. All right, I wanted to watch, let's watch a couple more here. All right. This is back in Rio, okay, the Olympics. All right, so this is a good example right here, right? I consider this, he's wide, right? So the distance between the middle blocker and the setter, all right, it's actually larger between him and the middle blocker. Do you guys see that? This spacing and this spacing is not the same, right? So I'd actually want Taylor like right here, okay? So then, and the reason for that is that it makes it look like it's the same set, okay? So really, that's probably a perfect set, but Taylor ends up kind of correcting it because he's able to jump to it a little bit. Right, jumping from there and probably lands like right here. Yeah. Okay, so just that small adjustment, right, by him jumping like that allows him to clean up the set, actually to clean up his route too, right? So he's adjusting that set a little bit. Super, super important, right? It's not like a quick, right? It's not like a quick where you just jump, right, and the setter's going to find you, right? It's not like that. All right, the setter needs to be able to put it in a window, right, and you need to be able to jump to it, okay? Because the Bix never really feels like the same, right? Because you could be trying to run a Bic from 5 feet off the net, 10 feet off the net, you know, on the net, right? That's all going to be a little bit of a different feeling. So again, jumping to the set is super important, not jumping to a spot. Okay, right? In this circumstance, right, you can't really get to the middle of the court, you know? So what does he do? His footwork, right? It's that little shuffle step, but right here, that right foot's going to start working around. Okay, so it's really important for you to go at an angle and really get that foot around and then being able to round it off a little bit. You guys see that? So he's actually trying to turn those hips at the last second and jump. He's flying. Okay, pretty good distance right there. All right, David Lee is a little bit wide, but that's because it's a little bit of a scramble, maybe like trans play, whatever's going on. But then still, Taylor's able to fix that, to adjust the set by jumping up to it. He does a really, really good job. And also just annihilating that ball. Boom. Straight down. Okay. Yeah, this is something good to talk about, right? Because it's a quick set, right? And there's a little bit of a guessing game, right? Because there's no real like orientation of like where a setter could like try to set it, right? The pin's not really next to him sometimes, the net's not next to him sometimes. So it's just kind of like a weird limbo set for sometimes for setters to make, right? Because it's kind of like it's very much like a feel set when you're in this when you're not in a perfect situation. So what can you do in that circumstance, right? What if it comes out a little low, right? We don't want to pike. We want to get on that ball really fast, right? And then also you're always, for the most part, you're always jumping into the set, right? Sometimes when you're front row, you have to jump a little bit straight up, right? With this, you're actually getting a little bit more of a broad jump, which is nice because then you're able to see the court much better, right? We all know that if you're jumping into your set and the ball's in front of you, you're going to be able to have more vision of the block and the defenders, okay? And you got to be able to feel where that help block is coming from. So when it's a little bit off, when it's, you know, sets too high, right, you got to know where you can kind of junk out, right? Or the set's really low or off your shoulder, right? A really good note is always tipping to where the help comes from. Okay, so in this circumstance, maybe a better tip would be over here because this guy is going to have a hard time recovering. Okay, but if the setter's over here too, that would also be a good idea to kind of take out the setter. Okay, so it's just kind of knowing, it's that little bit of volleyball IQ, just kind of knowing what's going on. Okay. How we doing? Questions? No questions. All right. Cool. Oh, you're on this one. All right. Cool. That's what I got for you guys. Okay. So knowing where, knowing where that help block is coming from, so you know where to junk out. Feeling where the defense is, or kind of knowing where the defense is when you're playing against a, just like any standard team in a club tournament, right? Understanding where those defenders are going to be and feeling the block and adjusting to the set that you're given, It was really going to allow you to, yes, kill the ball more often, but also to kind of eliminate the mistakes in a way, right? You see the middle block coming, obviously you don't want to swing low seam, right? That's a pretty good given, right? Or if you're able to not be so patient, you pick off that ball a little early, try to hit that ball line. It's going to be really tough to sneak that past him. Okay, so having those little adjustments throughout your attack and throughout your career as you learn, it's all a learning curve, right? And experimenting what happens when you shoot off the top of the block and move the ball around, right? Try to just not make just just vanilla swings in a way. You know what I mean? You want to mix it up a little bit. Okay, just don't do the same swing over and over again, and then think about why you want to do it. Okay, we always talk about forget about the last point, but naturally though, if other teams aren't really talking about it too much, sometimes it's tough for a guy to feel like, man, I just got lit up down the line. Okay, or I just got blasted, like basically cross court, right? So then maybe the next one, if you don't have a perfect set or there is a perfect block in front of you, that would be a good time to power tip that ball down to the court, because then they're going to be sitting on their heels a little bit, right? So adjusting and playing off of what other guys are doing to you is going to allow you to be more successful. Okay. Anytime you can, get to the middle of the court when you're running a Vic, right, and get that spacing down so that you're able to open up to the setter, right? Open up to the ball so you can get that rotational power, right? So you're able to then beat a skies and have all your shots. Okay. So if you come in straight, it's really hard for you to hit that wrist away shot. Okay. So open up that body. All right.